We're joined this morning by Greene County Mayor David Crum for our monthly review of this week's Greene County Commission meeting, which took place this past Monday night. Mayor Crum, as always, a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Greene County. Thanks for allowing me to come back down again today.
Well, Monday night was the County Commission meeting, and not a lot of items on the agenda. Just kind of cruise through some of the items that were talked about, and we'll kind of, I guess, start closer to the bottom of the list. One of the things that was discussed was using the county right of way with utilities, and that's been a progress. That's been kind of a work in progress here with cleaning up some of the terminology and everything, and that was voted on. It was a very close vote, and just kind of briefly explain what it was transpiring and what the goal was.
There was a lot of discussion, and the county road department or road committee had worked a lot of hours to try to get that into a document and that could be workable and could go. Part of this comes back. It was recommended by County Technical Associate Services, CTAS, to adopt some resolution about the right-of-ways. What we run into a lot, I guess, is a couple items. One is whenever and getting this time of year, and David Weems and his group are out mowing, that cable boxes and things that get grown up around, they mow over, hit, you can't see them. And we're getting bills from those companies wanting us to pay for replacing those items that are on the right-of-way that have been damaged. And so we needed to take some action there. The other, as roads get maybe expanded, widened, or water lines are underneath the road that has a leak and the water department goes out and makes that repair, it takes some period of time there before they get the road repaired. And if somebody calls in, they've had damage to a road and David doesn't know work's been done, it can be a real problem as to who's responsible for that damage and making the repairs in a timely manner so that vehicles don't get damaged and things from potholes and things in the road. So it looked like there was a need for some action. This was a tiebreaker that I voted, and I chose that we needed to do something and implement a plan, and our resolutions most of the time are fluid documents, especially this one, that can be worked and amended and brought back at any time as the road department and the utilities see changes need to be made. So it was something that we did need to implement and start on this.
One of the other things that was talked about and voted on, and the point was made by one of the commissioners, was I believe it was Tim White, who said that with the highway department getting some money out of their fund balance to cover some of the expenses that they've had so far this year, that there's going to. Do you anticipate that there's going to be more of that as the fiscal year rolls along? That there'll be other departments coming forward with some requests to try and get some money out of their own fund balances, or possibly dump it into the general fund balance?
I don't know. I know next month we'll have a fund balance request because we had to replace water lines at the county courthouse, and I don't know if you saw those old galvanized pipes that we brought in for show and tell. There wasn't anybody needed to see those because most of us are old enough to know what 50-year-old galvanized pipes look like. They're corroded and pretty bad. So we're going to have to take some of that money out of fund balance next month. The big thing, we're going to see a lot of end-of-the-year adjustments as we come up, and part of that is as you cut budgets as tight as we have cut and you run out of money. We'll say a smaller department, I'm going to use animal control for this, he's got a real problem with a truck that he's had to move money around in order to keep that truck on the road. So if you cut your budget down, a line item cannot, in theory, go into the negative. So if there's an expense that comes out that you have to repair a vehicle and you don't have money in that line item, then you have to transfer monies within that department budget from maybe postage or something else to cover that expense. So those are one of those things. Most of the time I can sign off on those as a department head makes a request to move money within their line items. But that's a big part, is we just have cut our budget so tight. You have to move money for unexpected expenses, because that's what a budget is a plan, and you can't foresee every expense you may have.
How, and this might be more of a Mary Shelton question, but how tight is it right now? Is it a situation where it's going to be real close as we get to the end of June, or is there going to be enough? Is there still enough there right now to make sure that even with the tightness of everything, that we'll get to the finish line and still be okay?
Yeah, probably Mary Shelton's our budget director, and some of those are hers. But of course, we've taken in our revenues from property tax. So right now we're in good financial shape. We're going to be real tight as we start into this new fiscal year. I think you probably want to discuss wheel tax a little bit more later on, but that kind of leads in it. By it taking effect May 1st, we'll start getting a little bit of revenue stream coming in that will help us. And the good thing about it, as I've always said, is that comes in monthly. And so you can cut your budgets a little bit tighter if you get paid monthly as opposed to once a year. And so I don't see any. The only thing we'll take out of the fund balance is if we have some unexpected expense, kind of like that water line there that was not expected, and our maintenance department, as they've made repairs and things throughout the year, starts depleting their funds in these last couple months.
And that's what that money's for, is for those unexpected. It's like a savings account with the person might have. You have that money set aside for those unexpected moments when you're going to need something, you don't have it immediately at hand. We
do, but as you can look at our budgets for the last few years, we've been those unexpected expenses have been paying for the expected expenses whenever you budget out of your fund balance.
Other items that were discussed at the meeting on Monday, one of them was the adding of a $1 fee for rabies vaccinations. And originally it was just going to be for dogs, and then it was amended to be dogs and cats. And that's going to bring in about another $20,000 or so a year for animal control, so they can get some of those issues, especially like you said with the truck and some other things that they have to address at their department.
It is. We'd kind of looked at how could we generate a little bit of revenue for them, and whenever we first started talking about it, we were thinking about the tags so much, I guess, and got bogged down thinking that, and it came up that cats have to be vaccinated also. It's $1 if you're an animal person, and I like dogs and like cats but don't have cats. But an extra $1 is not a tremendous expense. It's going to give them about $20,000 a year. If you look on, their budget is really tight. It'll let him look at some of those long-term capital projects that we would want to put in down there. One is the truck would be in a capital expenditure, things that are going to last more than 5 years. Let him get that. He would like to be able to put a fence around that facility at some point in time, because as he said, you've got schools around there if you had an aggressive dog that we've brought in. That facility's starting to age. The concrete floors, it takes a lot of cleaning to keep that facility as sanitary as you can, so bleach and things are starting to take some effect. So I think that extra amount of money down there is really going to help our animal control facilities in the long run. Sorry, Jim.
Another issue that was discussed and has also been approved yesterday, the town of Greeneville passed it as well, with the idea of applying for a permit for the town to process some latex paint at their facility, and just kind of explain a little bit about what that was about.
It is. Latex paint isn't as difficult as the oil-based. You can let it dry, put in mulch and things like that, but whenever you have a processing or collection point, it has to be regulated. TDEC does that. and they had sent us some things that they wanted. I guess this is more of a housekeeping and cleaning up and being in compliance with what TDEC wants to make sure we're doing whenever we're collecting paint and following the proper procedures in order to process and dispose of it properly.
One other item that was brought up at the meeting on Monday was the paying for competency evaluations for defendants who are facing misdemeanor charges, and just explain a little bit about what that $24,000 budget request is for.
Okay. State law requires that the county is financially responsible for paying for competency evaluations for individuals that are charged with misdemeanors. If it's a felony that will go on up to criminal court as a felony, then the state will pay for those. But we're required to pay for those, and in the past we've not budgeted for those. We've taken them up as a individual basis. Budget and Finance Committee has requested that we look at like the last 3 years what we've spent and go ahead and just put that in, because we know there will be some expenses, but we don't know how much. So we'll probably put those in just the budget next year, so we'll have a small amount. They typically don't run into a lot of money as far as comparative to the county budget, but we're required to do those.
We talked about before the break about the wheel tax increase going from $20 to $55, as was passed by the commission and upheld through the process of trying to get a petition for a referendum and the results of that. All the mailings have gone out now for the renewal of tags for April, May, and June. But folks who are up for renewal in May and June, if they've already got their notices, they can get down there before the end of the month and get it taken care of at the lower rate. Is that correct?
That's correct. They can before May 1st. The wheel tax increase goes into effect May 1st. And talking to Lori Bryan, our county clerk, and I think you may have spoken to her also, is the way they mail those out are typically in 3-month increments. They've already been mailed out. So you will be able to go ahead and renew those tags. You can a couple months in advance. Just because, though, that your paperwork for May and June may have the lower amount doesn't mean that's what you pay. So hopefully everyone will remember that if they wait till after May 1st to renew, that they need to send in that increase in total amount.
Just talk briefly about the latest with EMS and our interim director Tommy Crowder. How's he's been on the job now for 6 weeks, which is a little bit longer than when we talked the last time. He'd just gotten on board, and how's his work been going that you've had a chance to discuss with him? And is there any movement as far as having the study done and the review of EMS? What's the status with some of that right now?
We'll start with the study by CTAS. I had sent them an email and told them we wanted them to continue. That Tommy comes down from Washington County, so sometimes those fresh set of eyes and new people bring in a lot of changes, as he has. But the guy that's doing the study from CTAS brings a set of eyes that looks at EMS across the state. And actually, he's to be in here Thursday, which I guess will be today whenever this airs, and meet with Tommy and review some of the things that are going on. And that seems to be a good dialogue between them. Tommy's making a lot of improvements. I talked to some of the employees that I run into. They're glad to, the changes he's making and the work that's going on there. So he has presented a budget that is balanced within their revenues. He's projecting that their revenues will be even more. The EMS board at the last meeting voted to close Greene County to outside services. It's one of those things that you can't give away the service of allowing outside competitors if we can provide the service, and that's what he's been working to make sure that our local EMS service can provide the services that our citizens need for those emergency and routine transports. And that's what I want. I want our local EMS provider to be the one that we call whenever we need transported.
One issue that kind of cropped up within the last couple weeks or so is the with the airport and the discussion over the loan that the airport had taken out with the town of Greenville, and with that money not immediately being repaid, and some concern on the town's part. And you were kind of brought into this as well. Where does everything stand on that? And just what's how do you feel about how everything's kind of gone down with that so far?
The airport will be a major discussion at our next county commission meeting. That came up last week or so. Well, it's been developing for quite some time, I guess, as these grant matches and things for line of sight improvements have gone on. And the request just came up for us to sign and go on with that match, and that'll be up to the commission. We'll have to look at the long-term financial health of the airport and what we can do to improve it. It does help our local economy. There's a lot more traffic, I think, out there than we'd realize. It's not something that I typically use, but it is beneficial to our community, in that a lot of people come in and use that. They keep track of the airplanes that come in, but it's just one of those areas we're going to have to sit down with that airport committee and come up with a long-range plan to ensure the financial health of the airport, and to see what, if there is subsidies needs to be made, what they're going to be, not just kind of popping up and us being surprised.
So the county does intend to maintain a relationship, a financial relationship with the airport, and continue to support it economically where it needs to be?
Well, that's ultimately up to the commission to make that decision. I see traffic come in and out there. I look at the number of businesses and that come in and utilize the airport, and we'll try to provide the community with that information as to what the amount of traffic that's coming in to the airport. It's not just local traffic, the people that have a plane that are using it out there, but what is the long-term economic impact that on why we need an airport. Apparently it's going to be like the 6th longest runway in the state. And, myself, I guess I have to say I'd rather planes would be landing here and renting a car that might be doing business around the area than going up to Tri-Cities, or Morristown has one. But we're going to try to pull all that information together. The airport committee is supposed to meet Monday, is what we'd left them with, and give us the points of the history of these grants that are coming up and the improvements they're making, so that we can make a good long-term decision on the airport.
How's the budget process moving ahead right now as we get we're only 2 months away from the end of the fiscal year, which is kind of frightening to consider. But how's that process? Have department heads been making their presentations and requests for the next fiscal year?
Well, they have. Most of them have got turned in. We're starting to look at those. And the big issue that I'll say, and issue may not be the correct word, but the big project we're looking at, Jim, is solid waste. I had hoped to update the commission Monday night, and we kind of got to going along with the right-of-way. But we'll go ahead so they can hear this, and some of the things we're looking at is the impact of our solid waste on our budget for next year. As you know, Greenville, with their door-to-door pickup for many years, has paid their own tipping fees. That is the cost once you cross the scales at the landfill that it costs per ton to dispose of garbage. They've indicated for many years now, and I gave their mayor a hard time. I'm like, why'd you wait till now? Why didn't you make this change a long time ago? But the other municipalities don't, Tusculum being the only other one that has door-to-door pickup. So actually one of the things that we've been discussing is to take a separate solid waste fee, come up with some way per residence. And this is very initial and talkings, but it can get out for some thoughts there, is these numbers say we believe that it costs X amount of dollars per residence in garbage that's generated each month to cover the tipping fees, that we would put a separate disposal fee per residence on there, and everyone that has a residence would then be paying their disposal fee. We've talked to Light and Power. They're at this point are agreeable to make that collection for us and transfer it into solid waste fund. But if we can do that, the thing that I believe we can do is right now we're putting a nickel of property tax into solid waste. If we've got that separate fee, then I believe we may be able to reduce that nickel property tax. So that's kind of a big picture, and it's kind of holding us a little bit there to see what we're able to do with that. But that's we're moving forward, and if we can come up to make sure of where our revenues and expenditures need to be designated, then I hope to have a budget at the end of June. And to me, that makes sense. Now, I look at if I'm a resident, as are you, so if I'm paying for my garbage fee every month, I know that fee that I'm paying is going for the disposal of my garbage. And even though, I live in the city, I can still go to a convenience center. So that way, everybody in Greene County is paying the same fee pretty much for the garbage they generate.
So this would be applied to both the city and county residents?
It'd be countywide.
Okay. Well, that's something to certainly look forward to as we move ahead in the whole process. And I have a feeling when we get together next month, we'll have a whole lot of stuff to be talking about. So we'll be looking forward to that.
One other little thing, Jim, that if we've got time is TVA has come with us in Kinser Bridge, where you cross on the Irwin Highway. We had a quick little discussion with the Highway Committee. They were on board with this. They have a little bit of money that they would like to give to us to build like a ramp to put down there for not boats and things, but just enough to where we could access by canoes, rafts, and things to improve that location there to the public to be able to. So that's something we'll be looking at in the next about 90 days to try to improve that area there for people to raft and canoe and tube down the river.
Well, a lot on the plate here, and we very much appreciate your time, and we're glad you'll be able to update everyone on what's going on across the county. And we'll do it again next month.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Greene County.